Hey everybody, I'm Elysabeth Alfano. It's the Plant-Based Business Hour. You can see I am yet again on the road, only this time I am not where you might think, which is usually some conference room somewhere. This time I am in Mendocino, California, about 3.5 hours north of San Francisco. Gorgeous coastline like you wouldn't believe, and I'm staying at a incredible reception. I don't know if you can see this, an incredible retreat, I'll say, really. It's called the Stanford Inn. It has been in existence for 4 decades, if not more. Maybe we're going on like 45 years. And it is the only 100% vegan hotel inn that I've been able to find anywhere. I came here for 3-4 days of rest and relaxation. And now I'm going to take you through the property so that we can tour it together. And first, let's go inside so you can see just lush and beautiful. I've been living here in nature in this little retreat. You can probably hear the birds. So I don't want to disrupt people while they're eating, but you can see this. Well, maybe you can't because it's blowing out. Let's go outside. Let me take you outside so you can really see the view. We'll go right back through the lobby. I'll say as a little side note, an incredible book collection. Oh yeah, and an incredible wine collection. I always think like, ooh, you can tell how interesting people are by the books they read. So let's go right back outside and I'll take you around some of the grounds. Rescue llamas, some rescue donkeys, some rescue horses, but also incredible farm, and everything we eat in the restaurant is from the farm. So of course, a vegan's paradise. And you'll be able to see maybe here through the trees. I'm not so sure. It is and long time find a vegan. So I'm going to come here to end of my tour. There's so much more than I could ever show you today. Like I say, we down to the river, but instead I'm going to land here with the Stanford Inn. And hopefully our internet is going to hold. And I'll set up here camp with Jeff Stanford reading a National Geographic. Jeff, great to have you here. Let's get situated as we can. I'll just take water and we're going to hook up our electric and get our interview going. Jeff, thank you for having me at the Stanford Inn.
You're welcome. Glad to have you here.
We've been here for 3 days having an incredible time. So let's talk about how long you've been in existence, how large this place is. I want people to have a scope for where we are today. So please tell me, when did you start it? How many acres is it? And how many people work here?
Well, we started it in this configuration is different than what we started with. We started motel basically in 1980. And so we've been here 42 years.
Incredible.
No, that's unbelievable. It's just when you enjoy what you're doing, why would you want to switch? Mm-hmm. And what was the third question?
How many acres is this property and how many people work here?
Well, we bought two pieces of property to put this together. They were both plus or minus 5 acres, and I think it's probably 9 acres, but we really know. Yeah, yeah. We've never had the entire property surveyed.
Could you plug us in for some electric? So sorry.
Yeah. In any case, we have not had any reason to survey the whole property. Yeah.
Okay, well you're sort of protected. So you have the river on one side, you have a highway, which basically on the other side of the highway is the ocean
Right.
for all practical purposes, and then you also have a highway to the other side so that people can go up the hill. So you're pretty
Right.
isolated, I guess.
It's actually designated more like a rural road, but yes, it's just a road going up the hill.
And you are 100% vegan, correct?
Right.
And have you always been that way since 1980?
So in 1985, when I realized that I couldn't ethically ask somebody to kill an animal for me that I wouldn't kill myself, I became vegan. Vegan means not injuring animals, but I actually didn't know what vegan really meant because I had no idea what happened with chickens or with dairy cattle. So although I'm not a big milk person, never was, but I liked ice cream, I continued eating that until I found out what was going on with dairies. And I also quit eating eggs when I found out what was going with hatcheries. So I think the important part of that is to make the choice. I think because I'm self-destructive like so many other human beings, it's probably better to make a positive choice for the lives of animals, or say the lives of your children, anything. When it's beyond you, you might stick with it longer. You may get it wrong like I did, but it's good to get it right as soon as you know change. It's an easy change when you just don't want to do destruction.
And change is possible. I think a lot of people think that it's not possible for them, or they've been set in their ways for too long. I mean, you started this maybe when you were 35? I'm guessing. Uh-oh, I got myself in trouble.
No, I was 34 when we got here. So I'm a year younger than you assumed.
Pretty good for me. Okay. And were you the only one in the area? I mean, Mendocino isn't that large to begin with, but was it radical at the time?
Well, I didn't announce it. I did order salads and things like baked potatoes if we were in a restaurant, and we didn't have that kind of money. For 8 years, we lived in which is room 203. That was with two children. Well, then we took over another room, which was 202. But we didn't have money. We were here like not even on a shoelace. The former owners who live in the red house that you might have seen when you were scanning around, they loaned us a good part of the down payment to get it because they wanted a young couple that were going to live here and have children. And that's what we've done. And their youngest son is still and is still my best friend.
That's incredible. So the original owners still, who at least the land and the property at the time, they still live here.
They died here, basically. Art went, unfortunately, in the 2020 on January 3rd. I know the date because he was important to us, and so was his wife. And she died actually as a result of complications due to Lyme's disease.
I don't hear of Lyme's disease very often.
She got it. I don't know where she got it. She got it someplace. Then she got terrible RA from it. We didn't know at the time that you could deal with that in a large part with diet. So I didn't advise her because I didn't know what was going on. And she took Remicade and methotrexate to reduce the effects of it. And they went on a trip where she got histoplasmosis. And histoplasmosis is one of those things that you can't fight when you have these, when you're taking those two immune suppressants.
Of course, sure.
So she died from it, and she died young. It's very unfortunate. I thought she was a wonderful woman.
Oh, what a shame! Oh my gosh.
With us living almost on the same property, they divided their house out. Their family still owns that.
Yeah, it's an incredible story of how you came here and decided to raise kids sort of out of an inn and in such a small town. I mean, were you from this town?
I'm from Kansas City, and my wife is from Winnipeg, and we met in Winnipeg, and we wanted to live on the West Coast. And in 1975, when we accidentally got into this business, we found that it was some way to make money, so we stayed with it. But I had this vision of, I wanted to like a small farm, and we considered this a small farm, and in a small town where you could live and be part of the town. I think it's been a very good choice. And particularly now we're both have an academic orientation, so we continued that. We continued growing, and Joan is now a art therapist, and she doesn't do it so much anymore. What's in there through these windows is where she practices play shops for guests, but it's all about play. That's why all these National Geographics are here, for using images to make collages.
Yeah, so I haven't been able to take you through everything, but inside the building, in addition to the restaurant, and I'll go over the menu in a minute, there's a yoga studio and an art studio and obviously a workout room. And you have Sid Garza Hillman, who works on the events here, not just canoes and bikes and art classes, but also the wellness classes that have.
Yeah, we're short an instructor right now, but so he's doing the cooking classes, and he's just a lot of fun, and he knows an awful lot. He's a great person to take classes from, but he's actually a certified nutritionist and a certified breath specialist, and so he teaches that as well. And he likes to dip in a bathtub with 39-degree temperature water in it.
I've never understood those people. I'm not one of them.
Well, it makes them smaller. Yes, it just shrinks your body. I think that's what he's trying to do.
Why? I mean, he is quite tall, but
it's a joke.
I don't know. I mean, no, nothing surprises me if people who want to bathe in 39-degree water.
Well, he doesn't bathe. I think he goes in there, gets nice and cold, and then comes out and goes, I'm glad I'm out of there.
Well, okay, I did the opposite last night because here there is also a pool and a hot tub. So I was doing the opposite of Sid last night. Let me just take you through just a couple of the menu items. And we've basically had all of these as we've stayed here over the last couple of days. So a daily fudomaki roll, a maple tamari glazed tofu, a delicious Caesar salad, one of my highlights of the stay here, roasted beet salad, a kale stack, wild crafted mushroom and creamy polenta with oven roasted mushrooms over creamy herbed polenta, port reduction, roasted Brussels sprouts, sea palm and root vegetable strudel. We had that last night. It was so good. With carrots and onions and phyllo dough in wasabi sauce and stir-fry vegetables, trumpet mushroom coquille, Thai red curry, portobello flatbread sandwich, Kahlua mushroom and coconut rice, enchiladas. I mean, and then of course we had carrot cake for dessert. So an incredible, vast menu, all fresh, and most of it coming from your garden, that which can, yes?
That which can comes from the garden. And everything else is going to go into our CSA, which is free to our staff and community members that hear about it. It's something new we're doing today.
What does that mean? So anything excess from the garden just goes to the community? Is that what you're saying?
It always has gone to the food bank, but now it's going to go directly to people that want it.
That's wonderful. It's great. Those numbers work in a small community in a way that they don't always work in a large community.
Well, I disagree. Anything
good.
you can contribute to a community works. So if you're in Redwood City and you're situated in such, and you're growing food, you could take it to one of the neighborhood in that city, places like community centers where people gather and their children are there for after school programs and so on, and you could distribute food there. Why not? Just because you can't feed the whole town doesn't mean you can't feed some.
I like that. So working your way out of the center, the rings of the circle, touch as many as you can.
Yeah, and actually for growing purposes, you're basically working in towards that circle because the open land tends to be outside of the main congested areas.
And how difficult has it been to run the hotel, the inn, as a vegan establishment? Because there are not very many, and I always wonder why there aren't more. One could say, well, there isn't enough consumer demand, but I would take issue with that. How hard has it been?
There's not enough consumer demand.
You feel that?
Yeah, no, there's not. People really don't want to do it, and they don't want it in their face that they might be making decisions that they shouldn't be making. They're choosing to eat this way, and we point out that not by saying it, but by being here, we're pointing out that people that choose to eat meat, steak tartare, whatever, they're making that choice rather than this choice. And food is so inherently tangled up in our sense of identity that it's very hard for people to change it. However, where growth comes from is when you start seeing these patterns, how you're tied up with your food and how you're tied up with turkey at Thanksgiving, even though it makes you tired and listless after you've eaten it. There's so much that you can learn, and I don't know why else we're here if it isn't to learn something.
I love how you think. Yes, I would agree with that. There's a program that I like very much called Default Veg, and it says rather than have meat be the choice that is immediately at every cafeteria, every buffet, and every menu, such that having it as an unconscious part of your 3 times a day, have it be the other way, where the fresh, healthy food, vegetables, is the default choice. And if you want something else, then you are actively choosing that option.
Well, I've never heard of that before, but it makes sense to focus on cause people to focus on their choices. However, they don't like it, they resist it. When we first did this, we of course had guests that knew us as vegetarian. This is when we never have been but vegetarian or vegan, and vegan just means totally plant-based, and vegetarian means ovo-lacto, eggs and milk or other dairy. And what happened is when we dropped their cream for their coffee and dropped their eggs, they got mad. I mean, I got yelled at a bit, not a lot. It was occasionally, but maybe for the first year, what I would consider a lot, like weekly, people would come and, they hadn't really paid any attention to the email or it was an email of that this is what we serve now. And then they got mad.
Very interesting. So that leads me to my next question about consumer demand. How had demand been growing over the years, or how do you bring people here? How do you get the word out? How do you have enough demand to stay alive?
Oh, we are, I think, a perfect size, and wouldn't want to be bigger right now, first of all. And secondly, we have a quality experience here. This is a resort. We have the canoeing, we have bicycling, which is that part, not the canoeing. The canoeing's extra, mostly because of insurance. We have to be able to tell the insurance company what the value was. But we have that. We have nature tours. We have funny cooking classes and the nutrition class. They're all wonderful classes. We have patient classes, stuff that you mentioned earlier. So this is an experience. So people come here for an experience, and many of them won't even eat breakfast here, even though it's included. So 95% of our guests are here. I think it's over 95% are not vegan.
And do you have any feedback about people wanting to be here for the gorgeous? We are right on the coast, so the most dramatic, stunning coast right on the other side of this hotel, not to mention the river and all the activities and the hiking and the biking, both of which we've done in the classes. Do people sort of find themselves accidentally vegan? Like, does this dining experience change them in any way?
It does. We do get emails and cards and say that we didn't think about any of that before in our lives, and now we're thinking about it and we've changed, or we're making that change, and thank you very much. We get thank yous a lot for that. Now that's very positive and that's exciting. But I kind of think that it has to do with the property. I think there's something special about this property that opens people up. I mean, the reason we don't change is because we're closed, because we're holding everything in, because we're afraid it's all going to go to hell. What goodness we've got in our life now could go away. Think about the people in Ukraine that did, or in Somalia and places like that. That's totally true. It can go away, but it's a horrible way to live. And I have lived that way, and I try not to live that way anymore. I try to be open, and that just reminded me of a funny Big Bang Theory, but when Penny tries to open Sheldon for being on videos. In any case,
like this.
Yeah. In any case, it's obvious that change can happen to people if they just open themselves up. And I'd rather be open than closed.
And that's where the sunlight comes in, when you're open to cracks. Okay, so running
can be blind, and it can be blinding. The more closed you are, the more blinding it can be, and that's good.
Oh, I see. The more dramatic the change.
I'm going through just a tiny crack. Yeah, it's fantastic. Sometimes people use LSD or something like that to create a crack. You don't have to. There's other ways to go.
Well, come to the Stanford Inn in Mendocino, California. I'll say very honestly that I'm here by accident because I have 2 conferences back to back in San Francisco, and I didn't think it made sense to fly all the way back home, not to mention the environmental impact. I thought I'll just stay. I've got 3 days, I'll stay, and I want to get out of the city. And I found myself kind of tripping here on accident, and it has been so incredibly restorative. The air, the energy of the ocean, the living. You can't see it now, but my room's 239 right back there on the top of the hill. They gave me just a great spot. So looking over to the ocean, looking down the farm, you'll have to tell me the story. You do have rescue donkeys, horses, and llamas. Tell me about those.
We have rescue donkeys, horses, and llamas. The llamas are male. They were born on Albion Ridge Road to a person that breeds llamas. And, I think he might show them. I don't know what he does with them. And he had excess llamas. And we bought them because we had llamas and they all had died. Because I wasn't breeding them anymore. And it just got old. And he brought them over here, and he still helps us take care of them, as long as we had them fixed, because they're being males they defy. And llamas can scare the heck out of a cougar because they have these barbed teeth, and if they grab a cougar by the neck, they'll rip that neck apart. They'll kill the cougar.
Interesting. I worry that they might be bored. There's one llama and he sits in his same divot. He likes his same divot.
So I know them. I actually know these llamas pretty well. They are camelids. They like to be bored. I mean, they sit around and they chew cud all day, and we give them nice hay for that. And they would go explore, but they don't explore. Even if you have the whole pasture for them, which we've had, without horses and llamas at that time, they don't go anywhere. They like their boredom. Now horses like to go around and eat all the time. They're constantly chewing on something, but they're not chewing on cud. They have to have fresh stuff. They're not ruminants, and they do like to wander. And we do move the panels around so that they have new areas to move. And the only reason that the donkeys and all these animals are separated, and somebody said, "Oh, you should have all together," is that the horses are so dominant that the other animals have trouble getting anything to eat. Because as soon as you start eating here, you want me to get that for you? As soon as you start eating there, what happens is.
Hold on, folks. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. The horses go and shoo you off, and then they eat there, and then you go to where they were eating, and the horses go and shoo you off again. Only it's one horse, and then the other horse follows the dominant horse. So we have a bay here, that's the dominant horse. We have a pinto, that's the next most dominant horse, and everything else doesn't even count.
Well, it's funny that one llama, he's like a llama sundial. He just sits in this divot, and then he turns as the sun turns, and he tries to find his different way. He's really wonderful.
Yes, and we have treats for him, and he knows about those treats, and he loves to sit as close as he can to where the treats are.
I'll have to give him a treat before I go.
Yeah, we can give you treats for him.
Just
They're very gentle. They're really wonderful, and the donkeys are really special, and they'll eat anything, but they can't eat a lot when the horses are around them.
Well,
they're Sicilian. The last one, we've had 3. The first 2 were given to us by somebody who was moving out of the country, and they had bought them, and they had them just for fun. And they're miniature donkeys. You can't ride them or anything. And found out that there are a lot of them in Texas. So any of your listeners can get to a donkey society, and probably if they have the land, they can adopt a donkey, because that's how we got one to replace one who died. And because they like to be with their own kind.
Yeah, they don't want to be alone. Yeah, the donkeys are very, very sweet. But you see how much there is to do here. So if you're either walking along the coastline, or you're canoeing, or you're hiking, or you're biking, or you're in a yoga retreat, or you're taking art classes, or you're taking cooking classes, or you're spending time with the donkeys and llamas and horses, or you're just in your room reading, looking over the ocean and this large farm that unfolds beneath you. I tried to show you a little bit in the beginning of this interview. Of course, you are here with a very special situation, very special plot of land, very special part of the world. Still, I do wonder why there aren't more vegan hotels. From the business standpoint, do you, at least from a high-end resort, I understand that, like, I'm just hopeful that more general hotel chains have more vegan options. That would be a great win. But for the boutique resort, high-end wellness hotel, do you foresee that there will be more of these? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that market.
I know people that are actually creating such resorts, but they're promoting veganism. But the first thing you find on the menu is meat. In other words, they're using it as a way to get traction and pay for people to pay attention to it, because what they're appealing to is and it's good in the sense, are the aspirations of people to be more gentle on the earth, but they don't really deal with the issues that block them from doing it. Otherwise, we'd be there. There would not be a climate problem. We can get 85% of our forests back if we all become vegan. So there's roughly 2 billion people out of the almost 8 billion human beings on this planet right now that are predominantly meat eaters for calories.
Only 2 billion?
Yeah, well, that's a quarter of them.
More of the world.
Like the others are really plant-based because of poverty.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. I
So
see.
if we lead the way, most likely it won't be us, but if we lead the way and spent the next 15 years becoming vegan, not just the United States, but all the other countries that are this way too, it buys us, according to the latest research just published in February, I think it was, 30 years of increased carbon. As it's increasing and all that, that won't happen just because of all the carbon taken out of the system by spending 15 years becoming vegan. And you get 85% of your forest back, because you no longer have to rip out forests for animals to process food that we should be able to eat. We should be able to eat directly, and also for the pasture for those animals. And also think of the billions of animals that we kill now in this country, let alone any other country, just to satisfy an urge for something that we didn't evolve with. Because if you look into actual science, and a lot of people are anti-science now because it's got inconvenient truths, nice term from Al Gore, but that's what it is. It's inconvenient truths. We have to change. There are too many of us to continue this. But the 2 billion of us that change can make an incredible change. That we have a planet that's livable, and storms that don't happen anymore, like to the extent that they are happening now, and the fires will subside, because you're going to have nice wet forests.
And you here, even in Northern California, are experiencing a drought. I know many people have talked to me about it in the short time that I've been here.
It's a very significant drought. We're okay here because I developed a water system, or I should say we, because my wife had to go along with it. We went to a lot of trouble to develop a water system that's good for now. But in town, in Mendocino, that those wells are shallow, and they're no longer putting water back into the system because they don't even have leach lines for their septic system. That stuff is not going back into the ground, and they dry up.
Yeah. I know all of California is experiencing that in each town in its different way, but I was surprised up here that there would be such a drought where it's not as dry.
There is that kind of drought. There isn't the rain.
Right. Yeah.
The fog is fantastic, but when you have a million people coming through the coast or whatever it is, I mean, there's only the city of Fort Bragg is a center. It's 8 miles north of here, and it services 17,000 people. That is the base population of the entire Mendocino coast, going all the way down to the Sonoma coast, I guess, because there is no other major center. So we're it. And there's not that many of us, but so many people will visit or drive through here because it's beautiful. Yes. And they're drinking and they're flushing toilets, and that's where the water goes.
Yeah. So many problems brought onto the planet by really the minority of people. You're saying 2 billion. I haven't actually looked at it from how many people are actually. I mean, I know the United States consumes more than its share of meat, but really the wealthy compared to the unwealthy eating.
We kill 10 billion animals.
Much more. 80 billion.
80 billion. Well, that includes the fish.
Yeah.
I didn't include that because I didn't know that number. But I'll tell you what, I can send you email you the report, the actual journal article.
Yeah, I would love that. So as we wrap up here, because you've got a long day and I do too, heading back to San Francisco sadly today, just want to reiterate everybody. So for great food, to get a little respite, to get in your yoga classes, to do your hiking and biking and take in the coast and get that coast air and the energy from the sea. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The coast is just as
Where do you live?
I split my time between Los Angeles and Chicago.
Oh, well, that explains everything. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You could be in the middle of Kansas and it'll feel great.
No. This is special. No. I've been hiking in places before. Obviously, this is special. This is really special. Yes.
I'm just teasing her. I'm sorry about the microphone thing, but yeah, I'm just teasing.
Okay. A couple extra questions for you as we round up here, and I want to tell you, everybody, please hit me up on LinkedIn if you want to hear more about this place from me or more recommendations. I mean, I just can't say it enough. Of course, in season, your weekends are going to be very busy, so you're going to want to make sure to, book those ahead of time. But you see, I have a parka on. We're in May, so it's a little brisk. But when I was walking yesterday in the sun, we've had gorgeous, glorious sunny days. It was very warm. So
yesterday we had a light rain.
Yes, we did. Right.
It doesn't show in the forecast because it's really what it is, low clouds, and it rains, and but it's wonderful, and then it warms up during the day. Like yesterday was very warm, and today it become much warmer.
Yeah. No, just beautiful. Okay, but you, with all of your years of knowledge, you're having done this now 42 years, and a particular take on life, I'm wondering if you could, I'll pick 20 years, but if you'd like it to be a different time, you can. What do you wish you knew 20 years ago that you know now?
Well, I knew.
Or 10.
What 10? Well, I wish I'd known in 1966 when I thought education was going to solve. I'm not answering your question. When education solved I thought was going to solve the problems of the world. It didn't, because we started defunding it, I guess. But I wish I'd known what I know now, to look that it's really about each of us to look and understand ourselves. And I didn't know that. I was a 20-year-old kid having a great time and thinking that the world was going to be wonderful. And there was the youth movement, which seemed just, and hi, that's Pedro over there. He's been here for like almost 40 years too. Anyway, so it's I just wish that I'd known that you got to turn towards yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you say there. I'll sort of reiterate that in a very different way. Every one of us so incredibly powerful. So you think, well, what difference could I make? Oh my gosh, it's just one person. And you think you define for yourself your values, and then you align your dollars with those values, and you will see a change. We talk about this on the show all the time. Right.
I don't actually know your show. I should get to know it, but I do know that you're the only one here right now. I'm just a figment, sort of, in a way. There is only you. There's only me. We're the ones that make the change. It doesn't matter who doesn't or does make the change after that. It's just, we do it. And my perception is that I want to perceive other people changing, but and to do that, Joe and myself, Sid, we've mentioned before, have to be examples and lead by that way without preaching about it.
And I agree. And I'll say that here, I'm always surprised when you say, like, oh, people don't want to try veganism, or they really resist it, or they complain about the plant-based milk when you switched over a long, long time ago. It is very much not in your face here. It's a vegan menu, and that's it. I mean, there's no other place that you would see it in this experience.
Right. We wanted to exude joyfulness, and they let people figure out, well, maybe why it's more interesting of a place than, say, one, at another coastal resort area up in Salishan Lodge or something like that. That the thing is we want it to be real. We're not wanted. I can name a hotel chain that's getting to be major. They are always pushing veganism, and they're always doing this on their newsletters that I get. And, but they don't live it. We built this thing to LEED specifications before there was LEEDs, but we did it because we made a choice about the wood we'd use, about the paints and anything else. Everything was made to use something that everything was chosen that would cause least harm to the environment.
It's just such a beautiful spot, such a special spot, really like no other place I've ever been. I just can't say enough positive things about it. Okay, as we wrap up here,
Thank you very much.
2 quickie things. If you are having a bad day, things are not going your way, is there a phrase that you tell yourself to get yourself back in the groove?
No, I just do this. I just do one, I call it a meditative breath, but I don't know what it is. I do just one breath, and that, you'll feel your body when you do that. That was what I did. It's just one deep breath to remember that I'm sitting here or standing or wherever, or that I'm really angry. But I do this, just that one breath, and that starts the change. It's like opening the door. That's in a daily life. That's that crack. And I need that sun to come in. It happens to all of us. Life is challenging. It's nowhere near perfect, and otherwise it would be totally boring. We make it kind of perfect for the llamas, but they like that kind of boredom.
We are not llamas. It's true. Yes, I love what you say, that just flash of a second to reconnect back to yourself. If you're running around and you're super busy and you don't have time for lunch, what is your go-to snack?
Well, I'm glad that I don't have time for lunch, because I would gain weight, because my go-to snack would be French fries.
Okay, well, they're on the menu. They're here at the Stanford Inn.
Yeah, but they're baked.
They're baked. You see how we're living here. How awesome is this?
Use the oil in it. I mean, oil wasn't a natural thing that we were using, say a million years ago, 1,008 years ago. We were evolving.
So it's not going to be here either at the Stanford Inn?
No, we use it as a spray. And for treats. You can't make some desserts without oil, but it makes the desserts wonderful and fun. Just don't eat them all the time.
I had great carrot cake last night for dessert after dinner. I want to thank you, Jeff, for having me here at the Stanford Inn. I have loved my time. I really have. It's really very special. I have loved my time here. Thank you for making this place possible. How many rooms are there?
41.
Okay, everybody, only 41. And it really feels that way, intimate. And like the land is, I don't want to say yours, but the land is, you are a part of the land. There's more land than there are people. It's really a wonderful thing. So I want to thank you for having me here. Everybody come check out the Stanford Inn. I will see you later from San Francisco. Tranquility meet later today. So it's a busy day.
I'm glad you were surprised by us.
Oh, I'm completely surprised, and I'm coming back. Thank you, everybody, for all you do. Come to the Stanford Inn. Bye, everybody.